Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Jail time for employers who do not ensure vaccination for foreign workers. And highest COVID-19 death toll today. That's coming up. Migrant workers have made up some of the largest COVID-19 clusters in Malaysia. In an effort to curb the spread of COVID-19 among them, the government has made it mandatory for foreign workers residing in company-provided accommodations to be vaccinated. Failing to do so would result in jail time for employers.
In a statement by the Works Ministry, employers who fail to ensure their migrant workers or workers who reside at their accommodations receive the vaccination is an offence under the Workers' Minimum Standards of Housing and Amenities Act 1990 or Act 446. If found guilty, they could face up to 3 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of 200,000 ringgit. The government has also pledged to fully bear the cost of COVID-19 vaccination to non-citizens, including foreign workers who are holding temporary work visit pass.
Malaysia recorded its highest daily number of deaths from COVID-19 today with 25 cases, bringing the total fatalities to 1,030. The Ministry of Health reported 2,712 new COVID-19 cases today. Selangor still tops the list with 1,013 cases, followed by Johor and Kuala Lumpur. There is a new and cheaper way for detecting COVID-19. The Ministry of Health received approval for the use of deep throat saliva samples at some government hospitals. According to the Institute for Medical Research, IMR, the test has a 96.6% sensitivity and 100% specificity for detecting COVID-19. Health Minister Datuk Sri Adam Babar said the sample can be self-collected into a specimen before being sent to the lab. This will ensure a faster testing time. While saliva samples have been proven to be RT-PCR friendly, IMR is currently conducting studies for the use of saliva samples for RTK antigen tests. Continuing our coverage on vaccines, results of the third phase clinical trials for CoronaVac by China's Sinovac stirred confusion over the past weeks. A study for the vaccine conducted in Brazil obtained a 50.4% efficacy, slightly over the minimum 50% set by the WHO, while clinical trials in Turkey obtained a 91.2% efficacy rate.
According to Head of Research and Development at Pharmaniaga Berhad, Dr. Badarul Hisam Abdul Rahman, the difference in subjects participating in the trials play a role in the efficacy results.
We should look at the one done in Turkey, whereby general population were employed as the volunteers, and the result was 91.2%. But the study conducted in Brazil very specific, targeting at hospital healthcare workers. Yeah, these are the doctors, nurses, and hospital workers who are in daily contact with the COVID-19 patient. Logically, they are more exposed to the COVID-19 infection.
He said clinical trials done in Brazil also included data of those with mild symptoms.
In the case of the ones, the clinical trial done in Brazil, we even consider those who are infected but very mild. They don't really need hospitalization. So 100% of those given trial vaccine under Sinovac were prevented from getting medical assistance. So they may be infected but not that serious.
So can the Sinovac vaccine give us protection from COVID-19?
One way to measure the protection is when we measure the amount of antibody developed upon vaccination. Based on the clinical trial data of phase 1, 2, and 3, the amount of antibody developed against the coronavirus particle is 99, 98, and 100% throughout the study. And then it was also confirmed in the so-called viral challenge that this particular antibody were able to recognize and able to inhibit a wild virus.
In other news, the High Court today ordered Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor to enter defence on 3 corruption charges involving a solar power project in Sarawak. Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan said that the prosecution has successfully proven a prima facie case against Rosmah.
Rosmah is facing one charge of soliciting 187.5 million ringgit from Jepak Holdings to help secure a project to supply electricity to 369 rural schools in Sarawak. She is facing 2 counts of receiving bribes totaling 6.5 million ringgit from Jepak's former managing director, Saidi Abang Samsudin, through her former special officer Datuk Rizal Mansor. Rosmah, who has pled not guilty, will testify under oath in her own defence. The trial will resume on June 9th.
The Shah Alam High Court today rejected an application for remand against SUGARBOOK founder. Police arrested Darren Chan at his home in Monkiara, Kuala Lumpur yesterday, not long after he changed the website address to skirt a ban on the online dating platform.
Police initiated investigations into platform after a report revealed 10 public and private universities as having the most students who chose to become sugar babies to finance their lifestyles. Chan is being investigated for allegedly soliciting prostitution, publishing rumours and sharing content deemed offensive under the Communications and Multimedia Act. Police said it received 74 police reports nationwide in connection with this case.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Continuing our coverage on predatory journals, Malaysia Academy of Professors President Professor Datuk Sri Dr. Daeng Muhammad Nasir says that KPIs set for academicians should not be burdensome, but they cannot be too easy either.
Satu KPI itu mesti mencabar supaya ia akan memerlukan usaha yang gigih dan kepakaran yang tinggi dan dedikasi untuk bekerja bersungguh-sungguh, tetapi ia tidaklah boleh sehingga membebankan, sebab kalau KPI yang membebankan ia tidak boleh dicapai, dan mungkin ia boleh menghasilkan apa yang dikatakan dysfunctional behavior ataupun pelakuan-pelakuan yang tidak kita kehendaki.
He was commenting on a recent report that Malaysia ranked 5th among 20 countries with the most number of academics cited in more than 300 predatory journals in Scopus, a global citation database of scholarly works. Predatory journals are those that tend to publish low-quality science and deviate from best editorial practices.
The United Nations Development Programme (UNDP) Human Development Report 2020 saw Malaysia scoring 0.810 in the Human Development Index, ranking Malaysia 62 out of 189 countries. We continue our conversation with Niloy Banerjee, resident representative of UNDP for Malaysia, Singapore and Brunei, about what we can do to improve.
We are saying sort of 3 broad areas of action. One, let's look at nature-based solutions. Let us look at energy transformation, for example. Let us look at using and reusing materials, both in consumption and production, what we call the circular economy, Hafiz. We are talking about, let's think design of buildings, of transportation, of agricultural systems in a way that's planet sensitive. Our second premise really is looking at the regime of incentives and disincentives. As you know, globally about $5 trillion US dollars annually is given as fossil fuel subsidies. Now that's a huge concession on carbon, which makes, because it's cheap, therefore, carbon, it's easier to use carbon than to think of alternatives. So we are asking to see a realistic price of carbon, the real price of carbon, rather than a subsidized price of carbon. And this is particularly applicable to Malaysia, which, as you know, fuel, just from the petrol pump, from the gas station, the fuel is heavily subsidized in Malaysia. It's probably among the cheapest in the world, and certainly in Asia. So let us price carbon the right way so that we use carbon more responsibly, and we really look to a transformative stage where we move from carbon to renewables.
Last but most importantly is the need to change societal norms.
As I referred to earlier, do I need to throw away after one use, or can I reuse it? Do I have to, can I model my behavior in a way that I'm actually consciously trying to use something that I can use, reuse and reuse rather than just, use and throw. Likewise, in the production system, can we use more sustainable, more durable materials, which we can recycle and reuse, but also how we socialize our children, what sort of behavior we lay out for them, for the next generation. Because if we leave a toxic planet, a warm planet, an unsustainable planet, it's really the generation that comes, the few generations that come after us will be paying the consequences. They will have to pay for the cleanup, and there's not only that, many things would have tipped over beyond repairs.
On to international news. Facebook has started restricting the sharing of news on its service in Australia. The social media giant blocked all content in a surprise and dramatic escalation of a dispute with the government over paying for content.
The move was swiftly criticized by news producers, politicians, and human rights advocates. This is because many emergency safety warnings, official health and welfare pages have scrubbed from the site along with news. Facebook's drastic move comes ahead of a new law that would require Facebook and Google to reach commercial deals with Australian news outlets to use their content or be subjected to forced arbitration. Google had previously threatened to pull out of Australia because of the looming law, but has in recent days signed deals with several media outlets.
Myanmar's military junta has issued arrest warrants against 6 celebrities for encouraging strikes that have paralyzed many government offices. About 500 people have been arrested since anti-military demonstrations started early this month.
Despite the junta's appeal for civil servants to return to work, there has been no sign of the strikes easing. The army announced late on Wednesday that 6 celebrities, including film directors, actors and a singer, were wanted under an anti-incitement law for encouraging civil servants to join in the protests. The charges can carry a 2-year prison sentence. The protesters have called their cause a civil disobedience movement and are calling for the release of detained leader Aung San Suu Kyi.
D-Day TV was launched to much fanfare recently, almost a year after the shuttering of schools nationwide. Will it address gaps in the online approach? Tonight on Consider This. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I am Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow night.